Hey everybody, Jake LeBon with you for a little instant reaction to the Chiefs versus Bills, a Week 6 affair at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs fall 24-20 in a game that we all thought was going to happen, a low-scoring game in the 20s that ended up occurring. So we get a little instant recap for you, along with Dan Lucero from 580 Sports Talk. This is one that didn't think would happen, the final score, but a lot of people thought that this would be the game that that how it went. If you really look at it, a game that was competitive back and forth, nobody led by more than one score. The offenses start to churn out in the second half, and then at the end of the game, it came down to what offense wasn't able to stub their toe, wasn't able to blink, and it turned out to be the Kansas City Chiefs offense that ended up stubbing their toe and blinking. And the Bills get the big stop at the end, picking off Patrick Mahomes. A lot of yardage, lots of yardage in this game for both Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. The teams had some uncharacteristic turnovers, but the Chiefs defense played well for the majority of the game. So before we break down all of this, Dan, give me your big takeaway after kind of having time to kind of regurgitate that game. What's your big takeaway from it?
I think the biggest thing for me, I don't think there's much between these two teams. There's just not a whole lot that separates them. It came down today to who made fewer mistakes, and that was the Bills. I think both teams feel like they left some money on the table offensively. The Bills had the fumble on the opening drive in the red zone, and they had a 4th and 3, 4th and goal at the 3, where they didn't score because Isaiah McKenzie stubbed his toes across the middle of the end zone. He couldn't make the catch when he got wide open, and that's those points that came off the board for the Bills. The Chiefs certainly can feel the same way. They threw a end zone interception. Kaiir Elam made a tremendous play. Mahomes is trying to put that where only the receiver can make a play on that third down in the red zone. And unfortunately, Kaiir Elam just was able to kind of rip that away with one hand. That's a sensational play. That cost the Chiefs points. It could have been 7 if Valdez-Scantling hangs on. It could have been 3 if Mahomes turfs it or throws it into the 10th row. Unfortunately, didn't do either of those things, and that cost the Chiefs points. And then Harrison Butker missed a field goal as Chiefs special team woes continue. Yeah, he made the 62-yarder to set a new team record, but he missed that 51-yarder. And the Chiefs have continued to have, I think, every week one special teams moment that has really proven costly, and that was the one today. So both teams will feel like, man, if not for the mistakes that we made, the money we left on the table, the Chiefs will feel like they could have won it. The Bills will feel like maybe they could have won it more easily, though who knows how the game turns out if some things go different in the first half. When it came right down to it, Jake, the biggest difference for me, difference between these two teams that was most evident after watching them today, is the Bills can win with a 4-man pass rush or a 3-man pass rush, and the Chiefs can't. Not consistently enough, because the Bills have Von Miller, future Hall of Famer, and he was everything that the Bills paid him to be in this game. And the Chiefs don't have a Von Miller. They don't have that guy who is every play disrupting the timing of the passing game. Bills have that. Chiefs don't. That was the difference today, and that's the difference between the two teams right now that I think proved over the course of the game that they are the two best in the NFL.
Yeah, that's the big takeaway from me is the Chiefs don't have a Von Miller. Now they've got a Chris Jones, and Chris Jones played well, but if you've got an edge rusher, that's a lot more impactful to me than an interior defensive line. It really is. I think sometimes pressure up the middle can be a big deal, but Von Miller changed the game. Like he's the difference. What was the difference between last year and this year? Well, the Bills are basically the same team. Add Von Miller. The Chiefs are a little bit different. They really are. And right now, they don't have a Von Miller, and that he looked like prime, year number 4 in the league, 26 years old Von Miller. When he signed that contract, I was like, yeah, man, they overpaid. Man, that's a great signing. I mean, it really, really is, because that's the biggest difference. I'm with you on that. And look at the box score. Nobody scored in the first quarter. 10 points scored in the second quarter. 7 points scored in the third quarter. And it comes down to me, you can blame the defense all you want. You can do all of that. The Chiefs have all their resources on the offensive side. You have a head coach in Andy Reid. You have the football up by 3 points with the ball at midfield. At midfield, you have the ball. The defense got the stop that you needed. 4th and 3, they go for it. You get the stop. You score a touchdown, the game is over. And Von Miller ends up being the one who makes the play. I think Patrick Mahomes got a little bit greedy in this game. I do. I think Mahomes in the end zone trying to make a play. And that one I'm not too upset about, because sometimes you gotta live with the crazy plays that he makes, like he did against the Raiders. But you also are going to end up with some of these every now and then. You'll take it because he makes more of those crazy good plays than the bad ones. But it was a lot of that at the end of the game where I thought he tried to go down the field a little bit too much. And the offense didn't produce at the end. 20 points is not going to beat the Buffalo Bills. It's not. Like, you're not going to win that game with 20 points. The defense and everybody probably Monday morning quarterbacking and all that will say, well, if the defense just gets a stop, all that. They stopped the Bills twice in the red zone. They stopped the Bills 2 different times on 4th and short. That's 4 stops. Your offense has to be better. And I thought the O-line played well. It's just in these games, the small details. Harrison Butker missing a field goal, but it's hard to get mad at him because he freaking bolts one from 62 yards. That would have been good from 70, it looked like. Hard to be mad at him, but in a game like this, you can't miss a 45-yarder. You just can't. And so the Chiefs missed out on a lot of opportunities on the offensive side. And I'll throw Andy Reid. Andy, you got to call timeout. There's 1:40 to go in the game. You just stopped them second down or on 1st and 10. It's second down and 10, and he let the clock go all the way down to 1:05. Knox scores a touchdown. Like, you got to start calling timeouts, Big Red. I mean, you every little misstep that you make is magnified, because right now the Bills are the better team. If anybody came away from that game saying, oh, I think the Chiefs are the better team, then you and I watched a completely different game. And if you're going up against a better team, you cannot have mistakes. And maybe that 40 seconds, instead of 1:05 or a minute to go in the game, you've got 1:40 to go in the game. That's a big difference. I mean, that's 4 plays. And so it was not the cleanest of games for the Kansas City Chiefs, but defensively, you held the Bills to 17 points through 57 minutes. It's hard for me to get mad at the defense, but at the end of the day, the biggest difference is they've got Von Miller and the Chiefs don't. And both teams are going to get a lot of guys back. They're going to get Tre'Davious White back. The Chiefs missed Rashad Fenton. They missed McDuffie. They missed Willie Gay. I think they did miss those guys. And so I think it'll be a different game when they play again. And I do think they play again. Judging from what I'm seeing across the NFL, and especially the AFC, I mean, who else is good in the AFC besides these 2 teams, like truly elite?
Now, who else is great in the NFL? I mean, maybe we could put Philadelphia in that basket if they just shred Dallas tonight, beat them up good. Then, I mean, they're the only unbeaten team left. And if they can devastate Dallas and run up big points against that defense, then, yeah, we'll put them in that same conversation. But, yeah, it's the Bills and the Chiefs, and then it's everybody else a tier below. And I think that was made really clear today. Obviously, these 2 teams played in the regular season last year, very similar circumstances. It was at Arrowhead Stadium, and the Bills came away with a win. You left that feeling like the Bills bullied the Chiefs, and they won that game by 18 points. This wasn't that. It feels like that right now the teams are a lot closer together. And yes, like you mentioned, the Bills are going to get Trey White back. That's going to help their secondary. The Chiefs were down to cornerbacks 4 and 5 playing on the outside. And, you know, a couple of times Josh Williams got beat over the top, and that's tough. But, I mean, that's cornerback number 5. That's an emergency guy being asked to play on one coverage. And Steve Spagnuolo is not going to change the way he calls defense because of who the personnel is. He's not going to try and hide anybody. They're going to play the way they play, and that means the individuals have to make plays.
I thought they actually played well.
I thought he was okay too,
the one throw to Diggs, I mean, he had good coverage. It's just, it's true.
Bucket throw and a great receiver.
Yeah, that, you know.
It's a great team.
Yeah. So
it's a great team, and
I think this team is in a good spot. I do. I think they're going to hopefully take on a beat up 49ers team that didn't have anybody on defense. I mean, they didn't have Bosa, they didn't have Kinlaw, they didn't have. I mean, they lost a corner. That is a beat up team right now. It really is. And the Chiefs don't have any injuries right now. Andy Reid at the post game said no injuries to report on, so that's good. And more than likely, you're going to get either Fenton or McDuffie back next week, which will be a big help for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then your one more game, I believe it's one more game.
No, he has the bye after this. It is the bye after the 49ers.
Yeah, so and then you'll get Willie Gay back after that. So that's why I think,
yeah, you're right.
I think my math might be wrong, but overall, this is going to sound really bad, but as a Chiefs fan over the last 4 years, I have not taken the losses in the regular season as hard as a fan, because the regular season is a means to an end. You don't have to be the number one seed, and there's still a chance. I think this Bills team is that good that I don't see them losing 2 more games and the Chiefs running the table. I don't. So I do think the Chiefs' chances of getting the 1 seed are slim, but can the Chiefs go to Buffalo and win a game in January? Obviously, yes. So that's why it's not as devastating as maybe it was in, 2018 or 2019 when they lost a game. I've learned that these games don't mean as much to myself than previous years. I hope that's not a cop out saying, "Oh, they lost," and I'm not bummed.
Well, no,
kind of
I don't think this is as bad a loss as last year's loss to the Bills was. Like I think that loss felt a lot more like that loss really felt like, boy, the balance of power has shifted in the AFC, because the Chiefs, they didn't lose at Arrowhead with Mahomes, and they were favored in that game, and the Bills came in and just smacked them for 60 minutes, beat them by 18 points. So that felt more like a shifting of the power in the AFC, and that was going to affect home field advantage. And then what happens? Tennessee ends up with the number 1 seed, and the Chiefs end up hosting the Bills in that divisional round playoff game, because there's a lot of season between now and January. There's a lot that can happen. So I don't think if you're the Chiefs, or if you're a fan of the Chiefs, I don't think this loss is any real great reason for panic. It was 2 great teams. So often these games are won and lost on the margins, won and lost by who made fewer mistakes, who left less money on the table, who made the big play in the final minute, who had the last meaningful possession or time to have that last meaningful possession. Today it was Buffalo. That doesn't mean that in January it won't be the Chiefs, or it can't be the Chiefs. But today it was Buffalo's day, and they're well-deserved winners. And the addition of Von Miller was everything they paid for him to be today. And they showed why they're the hunted right now. I mean, they were favored coming into this game, why they're the Vegas favorites. They're going to be the favorites probably going into January, presuming everybody stays healthy. But the Chiefs are right there with them. It's the 2 teams in the same weight class, and they slugged it out, and they played a game that was maybe different than what we thought we were going to get, but it was still an outstanding showcase of those teams.
Final thing we'll get to a big positive. Juju coming big. If you get that Juju more often than not, then this is an offense that, if they don't have the mistakes, they will put up 30 points a game. You got Kelsey, who's going to do his thing. I thought Juju and McCole Hardman played a lot better in this game, and I think that is a huge plus for the Kansas City Chiefs. That would be my big takeaway, is that, hey, they need to start making Juju a little bit more of a fixture to throw to when it comes to the upcoming schedule. I think that's a big thing for Juju to get going.
Yeah, he played well, had the touchdown, had the big play on the slant. Those are the kinds of things I think he'll give the Chiefs more of as the season goes along. But certainly when I watch the Chiefs passing game, one thing that I think they've got to do is they've got to have some more hot reads from Mahomes, because the ball's just not coming out quickly enough. And whether that's guys aren't getting separation or stuff's taking too long to develop, but against great pass rushing teams, the Chiefs are going to see their share. The Niners, even banged up, they get after you, and they're going to see one next week. Ball's got to come out a little quicker. screen game can be effective. The delayed running game can be effective. There were some times where the Chiefs had some big holes to run through. They didn't stay dedicated to it. And on the one hand, I get why you don't, because you have Patrick Mahomes. But on the other hand, you got to give the defensive ends a little bit of something to think about before they pin their ears back, come off the edge the way that Miller was able to do. And you noticed he was much better in the second half. I thought Orlando Brown Jr. held his own.
I did.
Von Miller in the first half. I thought it might have been his best game, all things considered. When they moved Miller over to Wiley's side, that did two things. Number one, Miller beat Wiley. He beat him on a spin move, but I mean, Von Miller's going to the Hall of Fame. That's not shame on Andrew Wiley. It's just a better matchup for Miller than Orlando Brown Jr. was on this day. The other thing, you watch Patrick Mahomes know, if his first read is open, if he's breaking down, his first thought is, I'm going to get out to my right. I'm going to get out to my throwing side. I'm going to make a play getting out to my right. Well, you put Von Miller over on that side. We saw it on the big play that clinched the game. Yep. Miller forced him outside. Matt Milano was there to fill the gap, forced the throw to be paused for a moment, and then rushed out of the hand of Mahomes, and that ended up being the game-losing interception. So certainly agree that Juju was a plus. I thought Jalen Watson played a credible game, and Josh Williams, even though he got beat for the touchdowns, I thought he held his own. So the Chiefs have shown, I think, in this stretch that they've got some quality defensive depth. Young defensive depth is a positive for them. But, I think for the long haul, the Chiefs are going to have to be a little quicker in the passing game, going to have to do some more quick game stuff. I think that's where Juju on slants and such is going to be a big factor. I think that's where Sky Moore will become more and more factor too as the season goes on.
Well, lots more to get to. We'll break it all down tomorrow. Mic'd Up coming up from noon to 3, and then we got 580 Sports Talk coming up from 3 to 6 tomorrow. We'll hear from head coach Andy Reid, his press conference tomorrow. I know you guys will talk with our NFL insider, Matt Verderame. He'll get a recap on this one. Always fun to get an outside opinion that's not around the Chiefs kingdom. His thoughts on this one. So it should be an interesting Monday to see how some Chiefs fans react after that one. But that is our instant reaction here on YouTube / Sports on 580, as well as our Twitter handle, Sports on 580, and on Facebook, WIBW News. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon to 3 and then 3 to 6. Chiefs fall to the Bills today, 24-20. That's our instant recap here this evening.